feels less like news and more like, well, like a script from a spy thriller.
Yeah, like a Mission Impossible movie that just went completely off the rails in the real world.
Exactly. It's got all these layers, intrigue, so many unanswered questions.
And that's really captured the public imagination, hasn't it? This feeling of an unsolved cinematic mystery.
Uh-huh. So our mission today for this deep dive is to really unpack why. Why does this story feel like that?
We're going to look at the alleged intelligence connections, these so-called honeypot tactics, evidence that seems to vanish.
The totally mysterious wealth.
And even this bizarrely predictive novel. It's almost like someone wrote the plot down first.
It's wild.
Yeah.
We're pulling from sources looking at public perception, official findings, and all those theories that just won't go away, keeping this whole thing feeling like an unsolved movie plot.
So where do we start? The central character, I suppose. Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Right. Who was this guy?
Yeah.
This shadowy operator at the center of it all.
Well, what's really striking and frankly baffling is his background. It's just so unlikely.
Yeah, our sources point that out clearly. Son of a groundskeeper.
Right. And then somehow, late 70s, he's teaching math at the Dalton School, a really prestigious place.
Which was weird in itself, wasn't it? He was only 20, a college dropout, no degree.
Highly unusual. It makes you wonder immediately, how did he even get that job?
It does raise questions in the very beginning. What kind of connections did he have even then?
And then almost overnight, it seems, he jumps into high finance, becomes this Wall Street rainmaker.
With no obvious pedigree, no financial history that explains it.
And his business model, if you can call it that, our sources describe it as just peculiar.
No clear clients, no website.
Nothing, no record of trades. It was all built on opacity, access, and secrecy. That's what he sold.
Like a fixer.
Yeah.
Someone selling silence, plausible deniability.
It suggests a very unique and maybe quite dark service for very powerful people.
And the money.
Where?
Hundreds of millions. Where did it come from?
Reportedly generous donors. But the trail just goes cold, into shadows, hidden trusts.
Islands where rules dissolve, as one source put it.
It paints this picture of someone operating completely outside the normal system, like a ghost.
And his actual dealings just reinforce that, don't they?
Absolutely. Look at his exit from Bear Stearns. Shrouded in rumor, SEC investigations apparently, but totally silent, no public record.
Then he calls himself a bounty hunter for billionaires.
Yeah, claiming he recovered lost money, tracked funds for foreign governments, Saudi arms dealers. I mean, that's not your typical financial advisor portfolio.
No, that sounds more like covert ops than wealth management.
And remember Stephen Hoffenberg's Towers Financial? Huge Ponzi scheme.
Hoffenberg called Epstein the architect, didn't he?
He did, but Epstein walked away clean. Didn't even get a slap on the wrist, according to the sources.
It's a pattern. His own firm, J. Epstein & Co., supposedly served clients worth over $1 billion.
Yet, as the sources stress, nobody can name a client.
Think about that. A business serving billionaires, and no one knows who they are.
It implies the service was the secrecy. Maybe even the lack of records itself was the point, which is chilling.
And then you have these specific, really deep financial entanglements. Leslie Wexner, for instance.
The Victoria's Secret founder. Epstein got power of attorney over basically everything. Wexner's money, property.
Even people, reportedly,
Right.
Which led to huge gifts mansions, a private jet, that island fortress.
And Leon Black, the private equity guy, paid Epstein $170 million.
For tax advice.
Which sounds like code for making vast sums disappear from the taxman's view, using shell companies, these complex trusts.
Grantor retained annuity trusts, they're called.
Right. It just highlights Epstein's role in creating financial invisibility for the super rich. It all adds to this mystique, this shadowy figure persona.
Okay, so we've got this incredibly unconventional figure swimming in untraceable cash, operating purely on secrecy. It screams more going on here.
Which naturally leads people to the honeypot theories, the alleged intelligence connections.
Let's define that first. What exactly is a honeypot in spy terms?
It's a classic espionage tactic, sometimes called sexpionage, basically using romance or sex to get access.
Access to secrets, secure locations.
Or even, the sources say, to capture or kill a target. History's full of examples, Mata Hari, Marcus Wolf's Romeo Spies.
And the theory floating around, the one sources mention a former CIA officer claiming, is that Epstein was a textbook example of an access agent.
Meaning, not maybe a spy himself, recruiting assets directly.
But someone who gets close.
Yeah.
Gathers information because he's close to powerful people, a facilitator.
Precisely. And this is where those alleged intelligence ties start to look, well, more plausible to some.
Like that comment attributed to Alexander Acosta, the former U.S. attorney.
Right. During the 2008 prosecution, he supposedly said Epstein belonged to intelligence and was above his pay grade.
Which heavily implies protection, right, due to espionage connections.
If true, it's explosive. If he belonged to intelligence, what was the mission? Was it blackmail? Something else?
It feeds directly into that disavowed agent narrative. Like in the movies, when an operation goes wrong and the agency cuts the agent loose.
And there's more fuel for that fire. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, had his own alleged intelligence ties.
And the theory goes, Ghislaine then became Epstein's recruiter.
That's one theory. Then you have John Schindler, a former NSA counterspy, linking Epstein to an Israeli influence operation.
And Virginia Giuffre, one of the main accusers, hinted he was involved in a blackmail operation tied to Mossad or maybe the CIA.
Plus that 2020 book by Ari Ben-Menashe, flat out claiming Epstein and Maxwell were Israeli spies, using underage girls for blackmail for Mossad.
It all paints this picture of an intelligence asset, an agent maybe, whose operation got too hot, too public.
And so he gets disavowed, abandoned by his handlers. It's a classic spy trope playing out, allegedly, in reality.
And then you get the next act in the thriller. The cover-up, or at least what feels like one. The disappearing evidence.
That's incredibly frustrating for observers. You hear about thousands of videos, this huge network.
But where's the comprehensive client list? Very few people besides Epstein were ever actually identified publicly.
And this is a key point, because as you noted, that July 2025 memo from the DOJ and FBI, it explicitly says their review found no incriminating client list.
And no credible evidence Epstein blackmailed anyone prominent.
Which directly contradicts what people like Pam Bondi, the former Florida AG, had suggested earlier in the case. It creates dissonance.
Total dissonance. And then the jail cell footage. The infamous missing minute from the hallway camera the night he died.
That alone sent conspiracy theories into overdrive.
Plus, all those sealed legal documents. Years they were kept secret. Partial unsealings in 2019, 2024. But still so much hidden. It makes you ask, what aren't we seeing?
Which inevitably brings us to his death itself. Was it suicide or something else?
The official conclusion is clear.
Yeah.
Suicide, ruled by the NYC medical examiner, backed up by the DOJ and FBI investigation. That June 2023 report.
They released 10 hours of footage, supposedly showing nobody entered his cell that day.
Case closed. Not for the public, it seems. Skepticism was instant, and it just hasn't gone away. It feels like a cover-up plot point.
Well, there were reasons. His prior suicide attempt just weeks before.
Which Epstein himself apparently questioned, claiming his cellmate had attacked him.
And then he was taken off suicide watch, arguably too early, despite that incident.
That doesn't build confidence in the procedures, does it?
Not at all. And then there's the physical evidence, the injuries. Dr. Michael Baden, the forensic pathologist hired by Epstein's family.
He said the injuries, like the broken hyoid bone, were more consistent with homicide by strangulation, not a typical hanging.
Which feeds this central debate. Was it massive incompetence or was it malice?
The official line points to incompetence. The MCC in New York was notoriously bad, understaffed.
Guards falsifying logs, falling asleep. This explains why he wasn't watched 204/7 while cameras were broken. Apparently there was already a work order for those cameras before he even got there.
Okay, but the counter-argument is pretty compelling too, isn't it? This guy was arguably the most high-profile prisoner in decades.
Since Lee Harvey Oswald, maybe?
So why put him in a cell with broken cameras? Why leave him unsupervised, without a cellmate, right after a potential previous attempt?
The sheer number of things that went wrong simultaneously, no cellmate, guards not checking, 2 cameras malfunctioning, it strains credulity for many.
It leads people to think, was this just gross negligence, unbelievable incompetence? Or was it, by design?
And that's the really unsettling question you're left with.
Which maybe is the point. It leads to that aided suicide theory.
Right. Not direct murder, perhaps, but maybe powerful people just let it happen. Ensured the conditions were perfect for suicide, no supervision, cameras off to achieve the same goal. Silence.
Silence before he could testify.
And this sense of a cover-up, it even extends to the media narrative for some.
Yes, some sources question if the focus on the actual trafficking victims got sidelined compared to other big political stories.
Wondering if, powers that control the media kind of swept it under the rug. Or maybe it was just the normal, fast-moving news cycle. It's hard to say.
As if all that wasn't enough to make it feel like a movie, there's this other layer. Something truly bizarre. Literary foreshadowing, almost.
Ah, you mean Donald Barr. And his sci-fi novel, Space Relations.
Yes. Donald Barr, Epstein's old boss at the Dalton School. The headmaster who hired him.
And not just any headmaster, a former WWII OSS officer, and crucially, the father of William Barr.
Who was Attorney General overseeing the DOJ when Epstein was arrested in 2019.
The connections are just dense. It's a web.
So Barr publishes this novel, Space Relations, a slightly gothic interplanetary tale in 1973, the same year he hires Epstein at Dalton.
And the plot, well, it's something.
Intergalactic empire, planet where slavery is legal, rulers driven to madness.
The hero, an ambassador, gets captured by space pirates and becomes a sex slave to a sensual and sadistic woman.
The book explicitly mentions rape and sexual slavery, though the characters involved are adults.
But given who Barr was and his connection to hiring Epstein, these themes obviously raised eyebrows later. Big time.
People drew these eerie parallels to Epstein's actual crimes. The book's price apparently shot up online after the scandal broke.
Naturally. Now, to be clear, fact-checkers like Snopes looked into this.
And they concluded, it's mostly false, that Barr directly mentored Epstein, or the book was like a blueprint. Though they did say Barr and Epstein may have knew each other.
Right. But the novel itself, regardless of direct links, sources describe it as creepy, politically incorrect.
The protagonist apparently enjoys his participation in sexual assault, themes that seem to romanticize slavery, vile characters.
One review called it comically amoral and insufferably pretentious.
Wow. So even if it wasn't a direct inspiration, the existence of this book, written by the man who gave Epstein his unlikely start.
It just adds this layer of weird prescience, like the story was somehow scripted or hinted at decades before it happened. It deepens the intrigue.
It makes the whole narrative feel even more unsettling, like a fictional horror somehow bled into reality.
And maybe that sums up the enduring power of this whole case.
I think so. It really does embody all those thriller elements we talked about. The shadowy central figure, the spycraft angles with honeypots and disavowal.
The missing evidence, the constant feeling of a cover-up.
And then this strange literary echo from the past.
And even though official investigations, DOJ, FBI, they concluded suicide, they said no client list was found.
For so many people, the sheer number of coincidences, the unanswered questions, the things that just don't add up, it keeps the skepticism alive.
Deep skepticism.
It forces you to ask some really uncomfortable questions, doesn't it? Not just about Epstein's death, but about power, about secrecy.
About accountability or the lack of it when immense wealth and influence are involved.
What does it say about our society when a case this huge leaves so many people convinced the real story is still hidden? That truth is just elusive.
And that silence, as some sources suggest, is maybe the ultimate commodity, protecting the powerful in the shadows. It's a deeply unsettling thought to end on.